my talk, when Sean and I were discussing what it is that I'm so passionate about, for me it comes down to one word. But that one word means different things to different people. So first I'm going to tell you what authenticity means to me. To me, authenticity is about you being you. Every day, every minute, every second, when you wake up from the time you go to bed, it's about living your values. It's about living in a way that allows your purpose, your passion, to be at the forefront of everything that you do. It means that you get to be who you were meant to be when you are going to work, when you're going to school, when you're in a relationship with your partner, at any stage. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. But let me tell you why we kind of put the harnessing the power of your you-ness as the descriptor. Because being authentically you is powerful. It's something nobody can take away from you, regardless of what happens in your life. There are a lot of things that are out of our control. That is not. Nobody can strip that from us. Some may try. We've heard some stories today, and we all know people in our lives who have had unspeakable things happen to them. I look at what's happening in our world. In 2017, we have countries on the brink of famine, whole countries, women, children, families. Those things are outside of our control. What's in our control is that we can wake up every morning and choose to be who we actually are, choose to live our values, choose to live with an integrity of our you-ness, or we can pretend. We can get up, we can put on a mask, we can go into an office that we don't want to go into. We can wake up with a sigh, begrudging that we have to go to school, or begrudging that we have to do something else that day. I choose the first. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me, because I think it's important. But first I'm going to start with my number one belief as it relates to this topic. I think life's too short to do something you don't love, period. We, to a large extent, don't get to choose when we leave this earth. And I don't mean to take us down a rabbit hole, but I'm sharing this intentionally, because what that means for me is that we're here for a reason. And what we choose to do with our time, it's up to us, to a large extent. Whether we choose to live authentically and be who we are, or whether we choose not to. My second belief, it's hard. It is hard work to answer that question. Who am I? Am I happy? And to answer that question every day. And sometimes the answer is no. And I think for a lot of us, we start out with a no. And we get stuck there. Or we don't think we have the right for a life where we can be happy. For a life where we can just be us and get paid and make money and have happy, fulfilling lives being us. I'm here to tell you that I think that actually can happen. When I think about my own journey, as Sean mentioned, I came here to go to university. Nothing more. I'm from a tiny little island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean called Bermuda, as Sean alluded to. We're 22 miles long, about 2.2 wide, 65,000 to 66,000 people. Not big, right? Our island is beautiful. If you haven't gone, I'm going to encourage you to do so. But there are no universities there. So I knew I had to go away. I knew I had to leave home. I knew I had to leave my family, my friends, the life that I created, that I loved, where I was being me, and go someplace new that I didn't know, take on studies that I really wasn't quite sure what the road would be or what the end of those studies would be for me. It's a whole whack of unknowns, right? So I came here many years ago now and had the fortune of participating in co-op programs. Not by design, not because I asked myself, is this something I actually want to do, but because an advisor said to me, hey, Chantal, what do you think about co-op? I went, okay, why not? That decision changed my life. I didn't know it then. If you would have asked me 4 years ago, I probably still didn't even know it then. For me, co-op was the start of becoming my own person again and figuring out this whole thing called adulting. right? And I was working with the Public Service Commission at the time and finishing up my second co-op term with them when they asked me to stay working with them for the summer. And I said, okay. I remember sitting in the Halifax Public Gardens, calling Mom and Dad and saying, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna stay. And then I nodded, not to them, but to myself, right? Because I was making a huge decision. But I wasn't making it on something because I had thought through, is this gonna make me happy? Do I get to do what I want to do? 18-year-old Chantal wasn't even thinking of those things. And so I stayed. 10 years later, here I am with a house in Enfield, so we're committed, okay? And I love Nova Scotia. After my co-op, I had the opportunity to work with a small consulting firm where I was doing a variety of work. And I really got to work with a couple different kinds of clients, from private sector to public sector, different parts of government, small business, and I got to try a few different things. And that was fun for me. That led to an opportunity with one of my clients to kind of join them as their first person who was going to be responsible for people, okay? And the first probably 6 months that I was with that company, we doubled in size. So I was employee number 23, 24, we doubled that. At the end of year 2, we tripled that. Coming to year 3, we had some hard decisions to make as a company. We were changing what we were going to do. So year 3, I had to have about 50 really hard conversations with people who we had to say goodbye to. These were people that I'd recruited to join this company, who I'd sold on the vision of what we were going to do and change in this world. These were people with families, with children, with partners, with expectations. So it was something that I didn't take lightly, these conversations. And that year was a hard year for me. I'm a people person at the heart of it. That's who I am. And, you know, yes, it was hard just because of the nature of your having those conversations. But what I realized at the end of that year when I was in a hotel room in Toronto, traveling home to Bermuda, it was harder than it needed to be. Because I wasn't doing work that I felt mattered. I wasn't doing work that was connected to my values, to the things that I want to see changed in this world. I was also doing work that wasn't aligned with what's so important to me. And so, you know, a process started. It was like this light bulb went off, or somebody hit my activate button. But it was slow for me, because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to start this awakening. Luckily enough for me, I had the opportunity where a mentor came into my life at that point in time. And it allowed me to ask myself the questions that I'm going to encourage you today to ask yourself. He asked me if I was happy. He asked me if I could be doing something that I would be happier. That's a powerful question. Can you be happier? He asked me if I was doing something where I was just being me. And because it was somebody else asking me those questions, it softened the answers. You know what the answers are going to be, right? They were no. I wasn't happy. I felt like I was pretending to be somebody that I wasn't. I felt like I was having to put on a slight mask when I went into work day in and day out. I was that person who longed for Fridays and groaned on Mondays. When I was 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, I was not that person. I was the person who wanted to help people. I was Miss Nice, Be Nice in my yearbook, graduating from high school, right? And I didn't feel like I was doing any of those things. And so I set out on this journey where for the next probably year and a half, I decided that I had the right to be happy. I had the right to be who I'm supposed to be and who I am. And I have the right to be who I am and make money while doing it. So to be myself in a company, to be myself doing work. And I'm here to tell you it was not easy. Those are hard questions. To be that introspective, to really analyze your own self and figure out why you made some decisions and not critique, to not get down, and stay in that place, but rather to use those learnings as an opportunity to catapult yourself forward. And so, I wasn't going to quit my job. I still was loving parts of what I was doing. I loved the team that I was working with. The things that we were doing were really fun and innovative, and I was still getting to learn and develop new skills. So I wasn't going to quit, right? Because I got bills to pay. So what I started doing was coming up with a plan of what could I do to find more me? So I went back to volunteering with an organization that is very near and dear to my heart, that empowers young women to make informed career choices, specifically to explore careers in sciences, trades, technology, engineering. And I went to a board meeting of some kind, and I came back to my day job. And I was talking with someone in the office, and he looked at me and he said, "What did you just do?" I said, "What do you mean, what did I just do?" He said, "You're glowing." I said, "Okay, is that a good thing?" And he said, "No, like, what did you just do?" So I thought about it. And there was that little instance where deep down, I knew that I'd recovered the thing that I'm meant to do on this earth. That's what I'm meant to do. Because I believe life is too short to do something that you don't love. Because I believe that it's worth the hard road of figuring out what that is. And so I volunteered more and more and more and more, till the point where I was able, and I was having conversations where I was just being myself. And that led to what I'm doing right now in my current role with my current business partners. I love what I do. I feel privileged to wake up every morning and do work that I am so darn excited about. Some of my students are in the room today, and they're not really my students anymore. They're young professionals out starting their own careers. And I am so proud of that. I'm proud that I get to work with a firm where I get to be me. I show up fully day in and day out. Fridays are just another day at this point, right? I don't groan because it's a Monday. I'm excited because I'm doing something. I'm doing the thing that I'm meant to do. I can't turn it off. If you meet me and you ask me a question around why I believe in being you and why I think it's powerful, or how to get your best career life going, or how to live a deliberate life through career, good luck shutting me up, because I'm not passionate about it, because I believe it can change the world. And I referenced earlier some of the things that we have happening at a macro level in our world today. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, because it's just part of where we are. I'm not going to be the person that cures cancer. I'm not going to be like Ohm and come up with a new product and a software that could be potentially life-saving for people. That's not my role. That's not my thing. My thing is helping people figure out what their thing is. I'm absolutely doing the right work. I'm convinced of it day in and day out. My thing is meeting the young professional who's in my office and asking him or her, what do you want to do? When are you your most you? What did you want to do when you were 5? What did you want to change in this world when you were 5 years old, when you were 7 years old? Forget that it got beat out of you at some point by either people's words, actions, or whatever the case is. Dig deep to find that answer, to create a safe place to encourage people to think that way, to empower them, to take the chance to think that they can be happy being them. I love my job. Working with my firm and the over 700 students we've been able to help, primarily in Nova Scotia and Canada at this point, I have no regrets at this point in my life. Not the time when I was doing something, those really hard years in my previous company. Now, that's me looking back now, right? Because I recognize what that allowed me to do. I recognize that that allowed me to have that awakening and go back to my roots. I've always been this person who wants to help other people. I've always been this person who believes in equality and who believes that any person has the right to do what it is that they want to do on this earth. I've always believed that we control our own lives to a great extent, and that what is without our control, we just let it be. But what's in our control, we take control of, and we use that power of who we are. You know, when I was finally I don't practice for these things, right? Because for me, given my topic, but also I choose to speak from the heart because I can't not. I believe life is too short to do something you don't love. I believe that by each and every single one of us in this room, on this campus, in this province, in this country, going the hard road, asking those hard questions to figure it out can be life-changing. I hope that I've shared a little bit enough of my story that you're able to feel emblazoned, empowered, whatever the emotion is that's going to work for you, to ask yourself, am I happy? Could I be happier? Am I being my most authentic self? And I encourage you to not only ask yourself those questions, but to seek to answer them, because there's immense power in that. It's the power to change your life, your family's lives, your business life, your community. But it starts with you and whether or not you choose to be you. Thank you for your time.